Well, hello again, everybody. How's the apocalypse treating you? I hope it's treating you well. Sorry for the kind of dip in schedule. Things got busy at home and in work, and the schedule now over the next couple of weeks maybe a bit more um like my hair, a bit all over the place and a bit crazy. We're gonna talk through some comments we've got and today, and we will build a list. And well, we have one made already. You know how I do these things. I build them and then we talk through them as I rebuild them, that kind of thing. But yeah, so um gonna start with some comments from the E-Wings video onwards. So got Maxwell Silver. And this is when I asked, what do people want? A chat with Ken or Luke from Master of the Fleet would be great, or Tim from Crabbuck as well. So we're reaching out to various people. I think Crabbuck might be too big time to come on this. Whatever it is we're doing here, I think his production value might recoil. We're talking to people. Like, if there is a community that wants to come and talk, for example, we're talking to a couple of groups around the world, but I'd love to speak to anybody who's not in Europe and America who wants to talk about how their community's been handling the pandemic. I'm trying to lay hands on someone from the Spanish community, which seems like they're all. We know they exist and we know they're big. We just haven't talked to any of them. Uh, Anyone from, I know, like, the Polish community are doing great things. Uh, we've talked to Tokra, and we hope to talk to him again. But maybe somebody who on the community organizing side from Germany wants to visit us, or somebody from the French community as well. And anyone we haven't heard of, like if the Lithuanians have a great community going in Vilnius, just reach out. Um, the Danes, Swedes, Norwegians, Austrians, anyone who wants to talk about their community, just reach out, make a comment on the channel, or grab me on Discord. But yeah, we will be doing more interviews with people. They will be like, the people we're trying to talk to are busy, and it's a case of putting questions together and stuff like that for them. So it will happen. It may just not happen in the rapid burst of frequency the last bunch happened in. I'd really love to say there is a schedule. The plan was to do a video a week, and obviously I let you down over the last week, so sorry about that. But we'll keep it going. So, and next question. So, Tom Fisher, strategic and tactical advice on how to use Medine. I've never played with them or against them. Okay, so we will build a list for Medine. Let's build a list now. But we are going to give it some caveats. Firstly, the main reason you haven't played with or against Medine is, well, he's problematic. Okay, so you compare him to JJ. JJ is doing, and this is Moff Jerjerrod when we say JJ, is Moff Jerjerrod does not need to navigate at any point if he doesn't really want to. Maybe to slow down. But for Medine to be working on a particular turn for a ship, that ship must be navigating. And you're like, okay, but like, they're two different factions, they do separate things. Okay, I will give you that. So Medine is all about getting into position. Well, what about Radis then? Okay, so if you are going to do Medine that over Radis, then okay, I need to have a bigger shipload so that it matters more. Okay, right. So how are you protecting these guys? Probably rogues are a small fighter complement, because if you are taking Medine, your squadron loadout, to my mind, is restricted, or at least your carrier loadout is restricted. Like, you can always just throw in 2 GR75s, but it's tricky. So you want ship firepower. You don't want it to be in big ships, because then you should be doing Radis. So for me, building Medine is tricky. Now, there are other people who are better with Medine and love him. And he can do things no ship in their right mind should be able to do. So, but I think you have to keep some of those constraints in mind. Your squads are going to be limited. You want a kind of diffuse fleet, and things like that. So, what I've been looking at really is, I think, the assault frigate, or an MC30. Now, MC30, I think I've built like lots and lots and lots of lists. He does something obvious. He takes that nav chart at 4, and you can go very, 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 very fast. And it's grand. It's grand. We'll try something different. Okay, so we'll look at our good friend, the assault frigate. Now, it's got 6 hull. Why are we going with the crazy version, James? Well, okay, we're going with the crazy version because I've been playing Rebellion in the Rim, and played even just one game with reactive gunnery on this thing. And it's a beast. Okay, and then we add in LTTs, and then we stop. Don't do anything more. I know people are like, but you could add Paragon. And yes, you can definitely add Paragon, but it's already 92 points for a medium ship which has 6 hull. Like the Munificents laugh at this. The Acclimators probably laugh a bit at this as well. But either way, so we're going, okay, we navigate with Medine to stay out of the way. Even at 3, we have 2 clicks at the 1. We can be all over the shop, and it's fantastic. Okay. We don't have an expensive defensive retrofit, so we have to keep them safe. But yeah, so that ship can hit, and then we throw in another one. So you can go sideways, you can go up the middle of the board. You've got 2 ships which hit very hard, their flak is decent, and you've got LTT for, so you've got 2 blue flak ships. So they hit hard, they'll do some stuff. And they're fairly independent. Now, I think we throw in a Janus Light as well. Like, the CR90 is already, like, its nav chart is fantastic. With Nadine and a Navigate, it's just, they can go anywhere. And then we'll add another Link Turbo Laser Turrets. I feel like they're really in a good place. Just so good, but I've seen people now start using proximity mines and Jaina's Light with LTTs for clearing out flak. And I think the more and more I play with CR90s, the more and more the value of those evades goes up. So being able to pop one and still maintain, and maybe even pop both and still kind of maintain that flexibility, rather than the TRCs, that's what I'm thinking at in this. Now, and then we're going to do a Pelta, and this is the thing. So, we want intensify firepower. So then, like, even if we get all hits with our reds, we can still LTT for that double, then intensify firepower back into the hit. Okay, so you can really kind of push the damage up. And this is the thing. So we have gone undercosted on those Mark IIAs, but they are more expensive, so we want it to be consistent. So when they salvo, LTT, intensify firepower. When they attack, LTT, intensify firepower. And it's just doubling down on the fixing in those salvos. So those salvos are they're expensive ships. We want those salvos to hit. Now, what did we just say about Medine? You don't really have a nav dial, so you can't be concentrating fire and maneuvering with that Pelta. And I think we do want that Pelta to be able to jink and jive. So we'll put Phoenix Home on it. We'll put Ahsoka on it. And we'll put Ramus Antilles. Now, you generate whatever command you're doing, you generate a token, you change it to whatever you want with Ahsoka. Therefore, you can intensify firepower while either maneuvering or squadroning or whatever you want to do. And then we'll add our standard, so add our standard squad ball of minimal defense, Tycho Shara, 2 A-Wings. Now, here they are just like, get in there, keep an assault frigate alive, and then, like, if you see a squad ball, you can kind of buddy up the assault frigates. The A-Wings slow them down, and then LTT flak them to death. Particularly against stuff like separatist bombers, TIE fighter balls, stuff like that. Because they are vulnerable to that. Now, like, one big vulnerability is a demo or something like that. To be honest, I kind of feel like they've fallen out of popularity. I think the Gladiator chassis has lost a lot of sheen compared to the Raider at the moment. Anyway, let's take a look at objectives. I was tempted on this one to look at Blockade Run. But the Pelta is just too slow. We could take a look at Advanced Gunnery. So, and that's fine. And it also messes with other people, like but I think it's a bit too dangerous because the ass on the assault frigate is a bit too open. Close range intel scan. We've enough dice fixing that our reds will be changed to damage. Ion Storm then. I just like the idea of, you're so maneuverable, you can kind of stack up those obstacles so you're ducking in and out of them. And create a crowded zone without too much concern, while is your opponent more problematic. Marked for destruction, I don't like because of dust fields, basically. And I feel like, apart from the Pelta is incredibly vulnerable to onagers. Don't get me wrong, but the Pelta can just stay on the back line. Or deploy safe if you don't need the squads. And just power that intensify firepower and come in later. But yeah, mark for destruction. Most wanted, we don't have a flotilla. Opening salvo is always a bad idea. Because actually opening salvo is a disaster if you are salvoing. Because you will discard that token. Let's just zoom in to show what we're on about here. After the first time a ship performs an attack against another ship. So that is going to be a salvo. Great, you've performed an attack. Discard the token. Then I have a dice. No, you're salvoing, you can't add dice. Precision strike. No, we don't have bombers and we don't want to die. Rift assault. Like, we've got enough dice fixing that kind of levels our playing field. Station assault has been mentioned more and more. Like after speaking to Smitty, I do think I need to try it. Surprise attack could be good, particularly when we can, if the flagship gets kind of mired, we can get round the back. And targeting beacons, we have enough dice fixing. Beyond this one, I think we're going to lean towards Ion Storm. And then it's been so long since I did this, I had to check if it's still recording. Then with this kind of build, we normally prep towards Asteroid Tactics. I actually want to go with Fleeting Being for this. And the reason why is those assault frigates can get into the middle. They can dodge onager arcs like nobody's business, get into the middle, and they can refresh those tokens. And lastly, again, we've got minimal fighters, so infested fields. We've enough fighters to pick up the tokens. We can use moving exogorts and obstacles to jump in the way or out of the way at the right time. It's an all-around great objective. So that's the Medine fleet. Anyway, back to the comments. So Rush SGU about the Italian tournament. Will any of the games be streamed? I believe they will. Let's just see in a bit. I have reached out to the organizers and I will update if we know where they'll be streamed. Okay, and then it's Rush SGU. Asking about tactics videos. So I actually don't know that like I'm the best person. I'm just like when there's the text in front of me, I can kind of go and analyze it. But if we're looking at, we might try and take a look at some games and see. But I always get those predictions wrong. And when I'm playing, I'm like my brain is operating on a different level to the kind of stream of consciousness that you get stuck with. What I might do is try and play a game and look at it back. I would suggest Angry Ewoks videos. I think they're doing strategy and tactics. And I will add a link in the description to their videos. But yeah, Rush also comments is taking people from just applying in a straight line and flying straight towards the opponent. So don't joust people unless you know you're going to win. So with liberties, don't joust unless you look at it and go, yes, this liberty will murder that ship in one shot. I should have jousted in my World Cup match, which is why I'm terrified of giving too much strategy advice. I know I talk to Ken from my on radio from time to time and I give advice and then he's like, oh, and I'm like, oh, that would have been bad advice some of the time, you know. Um, uh, Information on Armada World Championship history. We could definitely do something that in the next couple of weeks. And what you call it, we'll definitely look at that. Okay. Then we had Maxwell Silver posting their victory list. So they had Moff Jerry, 3 Vic 1s, all local fire control teams, Link Turbo Laser Turrets, Ozzel, Palpatine, and Tua with ECMs, 2 Gazantis, Comms Nets, Parts Resupply, Vader Officer, and Sienna, Howley, Balin, and Saber, which is a decent squad ball. But yeah, local fire control and LTT does seem like good fun on victories. Part of me wants to say Palpatine might be better off being Nita, but Palpatine is funny as all. And I don't suppose like the Ozzel jump forward is just terrifying out of a Vic 1. And Jerjerrod does give them maneuverability. So that definitely could be fun. The problem does seem, the weakness does seem to be onagers, but you know, uh, there is a lot of hull in those victories. And I suppose your Tua ECM one is the one that takes it. Again, that's why I'm kind of saying Nita instead of Palpatine might be better. So then you've two victories who can kind of stand up to at least 1 to 2 onager shots. And then we have Stephen Wilson. So new Armada collector player here. Got the core set 2 weeks ago to give me something to do during the apocalypse. Got here via Ion Radio, so thanks again to Ken and Sean. And I'm not sure how many very new collectors there are out there, but I'm struggling to find Empire lists that don't have gladiators on them, since they're impossible to find at the moment. Okay, so like you don't need a gladiator for Imperials. They're great and all, but you don't need them. So we will quickly just take a look at some of the shenanigans. Is this a list we did for? I think we did. Why did this? Is this a list we featured? I really need to start tagging them as channels. Yes, I think we almost definitely did a Tron list. So here's like Sloan there. You've got your Quasar Fire, your Ironager. This is the normal nasty. With the Quasar, we have the horrific Imperial squadrons: Marek, Jendon, Howlrunner, Mauler, and a bunch of ties. We have 2 flotillas and an onager and a Quasar Fire. That's a fairly standard Slonager at the moment. So I'm like, my Romedy builds are generally incorporating. Okay, that's got a gladiator, and actually the Romedy ones. So we throw on bingo list. Okay, and that also has a gladiator in it. Okay. No, can't give away what that is. Okay. If comments here if you figured out which of my lists is in the March challenge for Ion Radio. Anyway, so firstly, I'm going to say, Stephen, let me know what you do have or what you can get, and we'll build for that. But in the meantime, let's see. So you have a core set. And an upgrade pack. So let's do a nice cheap 85 point victory. Do we need anything else on this to do anything wonderful in the titles? Okay, so let's Vic 2 with disposable capacitors. And we're done with that ship, right? We're not going to do too much more. We might come back if we have some synergies with some other stuff, but there you go. You've got your disposable capacitors. Could add LTT if you want, but let's just keep a cheap hull ship. Right. So now I'm trying to think what's in stock. But we're just gonna try and use the victory to kind of, because that's what theirs will definitely have. So what will work really well with the Vic? So we want to give it a chance to get there. So it needs to know where the fight is. So let's take Smitty's idea of station assault. Okay. So therefore, Grant, if you're shooting the station, you're not shooting the Vic. This will help figure out where everything is to be. can go with a contested outpost, or we can go with capture the VIP. So this allows us to move a little bit. It's not as many points as contested outpost, but it does mean, okay, the Vic gets the contested outpost or the capture the VIP token. They've got to come get it. And then what helps the Vic? Now, actually, we can do a hyperspace assault with this victory and just put it in back of people. That actually helps get it a bit closer. So what else? So hyperspace migration is going to force people to come across the board. However, Solar Corona is probably better. It helps with the Vic survivability, and you know where everything is. Okay, so we're trying to think. The new player, I'm gonna say, should probably try and get an ID. Again, we're doing this in a vacuum, so Stephen, please come back. Let me know if this works for your collection or not. So let's go with an ISD2 and let's help ourselves out while helping out the victory. So we'll go Chimera and we'll obviously pick the cheap one. We'll be entrapment formation. Could also be start with all fighters follow me. It doesn't matter too much. Okay, so we've half our money spent already. So we probably want some TIE fighters. So let's go Howl Runner, Mauler, Valen, and a nice screen. We still haven't picked Admirals. So let's just... Station Assault is beef. Mati is beef. Okay. So then let's just add some simple... Let's make our last... our last ace an escort. And then we will just add... So if that's the case, we're not really getting much swarm out of Howl. Let's swap in a Sienna Ray. And let's throw in 2 more TIE interceptors. So they're cheap, they're fast, and they can cause problems. Now with Zertic Storm, they're kind of like, once they get through him, then the counter on the TIE interceptors starts counting. But yeah, so want another ship. So we have some bit of money spent. Now I want to add an Architans, but I know good Architans is hard to find. A good source of Architans. Anyway, we'll stop that right there. And we could just add a Vic one. External racks. Like here, our objectives are kind of force the other player to come to us. The issue is if we're first player. So I think that's maybe the problem there with this. So what else have we got? We could just drop the TIE interceptors and had a test bed. And then we mess around with this slightly. So Mauler doesn't need to be Mauler. Mauler can become a TIE bomber. Then we've got a super laser. So then what we need is some tokens. Say Taskmaster. I'm 1 point short. So then we go back to the drawing board, a little bit on the squads, and we just go with some TIE interceptors. Make them pay. Like, we're not doing anything fancy with the Onager, but we're gonna have all this. Now, don't have a defensive retrofit, so there are some problems with this, some weaknesses, but like, yeah, this is like 3 larges, some squad support, and a small bit of dice fixing, and yeah, basically an objective suite which just adds even more beef, or gets rid of some of our inherent weaknesses. Think onagers and ISDs are easier to get than small ships, so yeah. New player, body new player. But again, like the weaknesses there are weaknesses, but yeah, come back to me, Stephen. Listen, if this doesn't suit your collection or you want us to build something different. Do yeah. So the Italian Armada tournament has 31 players with 2 days to go. Make sure and get your lists in. Um, the guys on there are very responsive. And yeah, there is loads of good content coming out. Downsize it, I think. Is it Downsize it? Oh, what's the guy's name? Let me quickly find. I may have already mentioned him. It's a good possibility. Oh, so well prepared. So well prepared on this channel. And by the way, if Krabak does want to come and talk to us, yeah, Downsize it are also doing battle reports, and I think with their latest video they have a promotion to win something from Admiral Tater's shop as well. That might be worth your while checking out. But yeah, for strategy and tactics, I'm going to think more on that request, but at the moment, Angry Ewok, take a look. I'll link him in the channel below. And as we do more interviews, hopefully soon, they'll be coming up. But I just don't want to say what they are yet until they're actually in the can. And generally, once they're done, you'll know straight away. It's just, you never know with people, everything going on in the world. You never free, have the time, and all that. But yeah, join me in the Italian Tabletop Simulator tournament if you want to play. It's going to be glorious. All right. Look after yourselves.